Welcome back to Mudwalkers. My name is Chris. Today we're talking about Pavlov's dogs. I've recently been doing a series reviewing the book Christian Body by Aaron Frost, which is a defense of Christian naturism from biblical and cultural criticisms. Now, I didn't want to get into all this in the series because it wasn't that pertinent to the book itself, but I think it might be interesting to go over this on its own. So I've given a bunch of links in the description, by the way, for you to go read up on Pavlov's dogs, the experiments, if you wish. But here's the basic rundown. So there was this guy called Ivan Pavlov. I know that's not how you pronounce the name. I don't speak Russian. But Ivan Pavlov had these experiments where he took all these dogs and he would ring a bell and then feed the dogs. So the dogs learned that every single time they heard a bell, it was time to eat. And so eventually, it got to where he could just ring the bell and all the dogs would start to drool. Why? Because they knew that bells meant food. Now, does that mean that dogs naturally, innately, genetically, as a species, that bells means food for dogs? No, not really. So I personally like to believe that these dogs went on to have happy, healthy lives after the experiments. I honestly don't know what happened to them. I haven't read up on it. But let's say after the experiments, the dogs all got, given out to good, loving homes. And that you have this interaction between two dogs at a dog park. A dog that was never part of the experiments, who's always just been a regular dog. And then you have one of the experimental dogs that's now in a loving home, and they happen to meet at a dog park, and we get this interaction. So they're in the dog park, and they walk up to each other and introduce each other, and one of them says, "Hi, I'm Jimbo. Nice to meet you. What's your name? What do you do for a living? What kind of dog food do you eat? What does your poop smell like? What? And the retired experiment dog says, well, this morning my master's phone rang. I just started drooling all over the place. You know how that is." And the non-experimental dog just kind of stares at him. And then he says, "No, I actually don't know how it is. What are you talking about?" "Oh, come on, the bells." "Oh, come on, the bells. Whenever a dog hears a bell ringing, he drools. That's just how we dogs are, man. That's life. You know what I'm talking about." Dude, I have never heard that before. You really drool whenever you hear a bell? Yeah, of course I do. I'm a dog. Don't you drool when you hear bells? Of course I don't. It's a piece of metal. It's just a bell. Are you okay? I'm not sure that drooling from a bell is, normal. Of course it's normal. All the dogs I grew up with drool when they hear bells. If you don't drool when you hear a bell, then you're either lying to me or you're lying to yourself. The problem here is that each dog will come into this conversation with the sense that his perspective is universal, innate, and self-evident. The Pavlovian dog is coming into this with his experience, where every dog he knows hears a bell and salivates. And he salivates when he hears bells, so it seems universal, innate, and self-evident. However, the non-Pavlovian dog, the normal dog, who did not grow up with the experiments, he hears a bell, doesn't react to it at all. To him, it's just a piece of metal. And to him, it seems universal, innate, and self-evident that dogs don't have automatic reactions when they hear bells. So these dogs are not going to have any common ground on this issue because they're coming at this from completely different personal experiences. But that doesn't mean that the Pavlovian dog is right. It means that they're at a difficult point in the conversation. This episode of Mudwalkers is brought to you by Patreon. These guys are my patrons. They're making the channel happen. They're keeping my work sustainable. So everybody on Patreon, thank you. If you'd like to support what I do financially, you can check out the Patreon link in the description down below or on the screen right now. There you can support what I do at various levels of support. Every single level of support gets early access to all my mainline content videos like this one. Depending on your level of support, you also get access to my Patreon exclusive content, things like cooking videos, travel vlogs, naturist resort tours, World Naked Bike Ride videos, behind the scenes movie content for the nudist movies that I'm in, because I've been in several. You get cool stuff like that depending on your level of support. You also might get access to my written content, like my naturist short stories, my naturist novel that's coming up. People are getting access to the naturist novel chapters as they're being written. That's pretty cool. I'm getting good reviews on the book over on Patreon. The wind is taking my shade away. Okay, we'll be fine. But where even was I? Anyway, Patreon's cool. Also check out the website, sign up for my newsletter so you can stay connected with my content in case YouTube deletes my whole channel without reason again. Let's get back into the video. We're also going to fix this wind-swept shade here. It's a windy day. Ooh, look, camouflage. So what does this ultimately have to do with modesty, naturism, body concealment, body exposure? What does Pavlov's dogs have to do with that? Well, imagine you're an ordinary Christian man going to church like you always do on Sunday, and you come out of the front doors of the church and you find a man there who is very distressed. The man storms out of the front of the church and he looks disgusted and appalled. Turns out he's from the Middle East. He says, "How can you stand for this? How can you just stand there while all the women in there are dressed like whores?" You say, "What are you talking about? We prioritize modesty at this church. What did you see that looked whorish to you?" The hair! The women are all just in there with their hair hanging out like loose women, like hussies, tempting all the men inside the church without a care in the world. With that kind of temptation, it's a wonder no one was getting raped this morning. Temptation? Yes, I've been completely aroused since the moment I walked into this church. I have to leave now. I can't stand it any longer. I never realized American churches were so perverted. Perverted? It's just hair. Just hair. Just hair? You of all people should know that a woman's hair automatically causes men to lust. There are few things on this earth more powerful and more tempting to a man sexually than a woman's hair. Men simply cannot resist it. It's just the way that things are. It's just our biology. We can't help ourselves when we see hair. I'm lucky I made it out of there with my pants still on. Wait, are you serious? What? What? Because I've never heard that before. You're saying hair is one of the ultimate great sexual temptations of men? Of course it is. The only reason you would be fine with this is because you just want to stand there aroused and lust after these women all through the church service. Dude, I'm not aroused. That's not what's going on at all. I'm not tempted by hair. Like, where are you getting this from? No. Everyone knows this is just how humans are. This is nature. Men are tempted by hair. That's just the way things are. If you're willing to deny this obvious fact of reality, then you're either lying to yourself or you're lying to me. If you, as a Western Christian, had this conversation with someone, it would become immediately obvious to you that this man was a victim of Pavlovian conditioning. It is not universal, innate, or self-evident that men automatically lust when they see women's hair. That's not how this works. Now, does it mean there are no men for whom that's fairly automatic? Of course there are men who get pretty darn aroused when they see women's hair, but that's a result of the ringing bell. That's a result of their conditioning, not some kind of innate instinct on the part of men. Think of it this way. If you spend your whole life never seeing the hair of grown women and being told all the time, one day when you're married, you'll get to see hair. One day when you're married, you'll get to see hair. When you get to your wedding night, you'll see your wife's hair for the first time. And then you grow up, you get married, all these things, and then guess what? The only time that you see hair, a woman's hair, is when you're having sex with her. So that becomes a bell. And so now, whenever you see a woman's hair, you get aroused. Why? Because you've been trained your entire life that hair equals sex, that ding, 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 ding equals food. It's Pavlovian conditioning. And to an American, just to someone who's seen hair every day, this would seem kind of silly. Like, this is not universal, innate, or self-evident. This is not something that men naturally just have to deal with. Like, you have to resist the urge to because you see a woman's hair. That's not innate. The tricky thing is, though, is that when you are raised in a particular culture your entire life, it's the water that you're swimming in. You don't realize that it isn't innate. It seems innate because it's just been there your entire life. So it's very difficult to get people to understand that their culture isn't universal, innate, or self-evident. Hello, airplane. Let's round it off. Let's finish this off with one final hypothetical conversation. You went to a nudist resort? Bro, you shouldn't go to those places. The sight of naked people is sexually arousing. Men are visual creatures. For us, nudity is just automatically sexually arousing. You need to get out of there. I disagree with your assessment. For me, and for naturists in general, the mere sight of the human body is not sexually tempting. To us, it just looks like people. And we can go about ordinary lives and have ordinary days, ordinary vacations, without clothes and without lust. It's easy. If you're claiming you can be around naked women and not lust, then you're either lying to me or you're lying to yourself. When I hear a bell, I drool, and that's just how men are. When it's your own experience, when it's your own culture, when it's the way that you grew up, it's easy for things to seem universal, innate, and self-evident even when they aren't. Ubiquity across your culture isn't a binding force isn't a binding authority for morality. The only binding authority of that kind that we have is Scripture. And given how many people, how many cultures there have been across human history, where the sight of the human body has been really, really normal without it leading to a constant orgy, I think this is just Pavlovian conditioning, you guys. Seeing a woman's entire body is going to make men lust automatic. No, it's just Pavlovian conditioning. So are we just stuck with Pavlovian conditioning? Is it permanent? Can you even recover from Pavlovian conditioning? The good news is, yes, you actually can to a great extent. A man from the Middle East can come to America and he can actually get used to the sight of women's heads. He can do that. And I'm living proof that a visually oriented, virile, high libido young man in America can undo Pavlovian conditioning around the sight of women's bodies. And it's not like I started out as some kind of freak of nature who didn't lust when he saw women. That would have been great if I just grew up that way, but I didn't. I was exactly what our culture would expect. I lusted after women. I watched porn constantly. And it didn't matter what women wore. I mean, obviously, women wearing something scantier made it slightly easier for me to lust, slightly more difficult not to lust. But guys, I was lusting after everybody. I mean, it didn't matter if a woman was wearing a long skirt or not. There were ways for my brain to work with that cloth and make things happen in my brain. I had a serious problem. But I managed to undo that Pavlovian conditioning, thank God. Yahweh really, really did great. He's really blessed me with this path that has led me into naturism and has helped solve this conditioning that I grew up with. So there is hope. If you're dealing with Pavlovian conditioning, you can just get over it. On one occasion, when I was first getting into all this, someone scrolled through my computer and saw some naturist pictures. And the person told me later on, I expected this to be arousing, but then as I scrolled through it, it stopped being a thing, and it was just people. He said it was weird. I did not expect that. Well, yeah, that's kind of how that works. And then just last year, 2025, a good friend of mine came over. He has a real problem with corn. And we sat down and I said, hey, we're going to look at some naturist photos. He took his clothes off, I took my clothes off, and we just sat in different pieces of furniture and looked at the screen. And we scrolled through a bunch of naturist photos. And despite the fact that he is where I started, very, very lustful, very, very attached to corn, he said that he found it easy to just see these people as people. You can undo your Pavlovian conditioning. It is possible. There is hope for you. But you've got to actually do something. You can't just think about it. You've got to actually act on this and try to counteract your conditioning. If you want the full story of how and why I got into nudism, you can find the video up there. It goes through a lot of this process. It drives me so crazy when I hear men tell each other, this is just something you're going to be dealing with the rest of your life. This is just every man's battle, all this stuff. Like lust is always going to be an issue. That's a problem on a number of levels. One is just false. It's not actually something that's innate and permanent. With men, you can actually get over it. You can beat it. But the other problem with it is that as soon as you tell someone something is impossible, he's not going to try. Why don't you just walk out your front door and hop up onto the moon? Why don't you even attempt it? I bet you've never attempted to just hop up to the moon. Why? Because you know it's not possible. Why don't you attempt to just leap from here to London? Because you know that's not possible. So if you tell someone, if you convince someone, like imagine chaining, better yet, you ever seen the video of someone leading a horse without touching the horse? Where the person pretends to put a bridle on the horse and then just holds a hand out and then just starts walking. You know what the horse does? The horse just automatically starts walking. Not because it's actually impossible to resist or because there's actually a bridle there, but because he thinks there's one. It's his conditioning. If you chain someone to a wall with a chain made of paper, but you have convinced this person 100% the chain is unbreakable, the person is probably not going to try to break the chain. People tend not to try things they think are impossible. So are we really doing young men any good by telling them that overcoming lust is impossible? I say no. Not only is it just not psychologically healthy to tell them that, but it's actually false. It's actually patently false that lust is unbeatable. With the right tools, you can do this. But also, do we really think that the Holy Spirit can't sanctify us? That he doesn't have any power over this particular sin? Now granted, you can't just lie awake at night and say, Lord, please, pretty please, stop me from lusting, take lust out of my life, all that stuff. That's good. You should lean on the Spirit. But you can't just lay in your bed weighing 500 pounds and say, God, please help me lose weight, please help me lose weight. And then you wake up and you eat enough food for 10 people and you're drinking sodas all the time and you never ever exercise. Guess what? You're probably not going to lose weight. Now, can the Spirit help you with your diligence in losing weight? Absolutely, he can. There are ways that Yahweh can and will help you with that sort of thing, but you're going to have to exercise. You're going to have to change the way you eat if you want to lose the weight. Similarly, you cannot simply just lie down in your bed and say, please no lust, please no lust. You've got to work at it. You can do it with the right tools. And of course, ultimately, the best solution to everything is really Yeshua, is Jesus. It's Yahweh, the Lord, the creator of heaven and earth. He can save you from whatever it is you're dealing with. If not now, then in the life to come. There is hope for you. If you're a Christian brother, Christian sister watching this video, there is great hope for you. Now I realize that some of this might sound like really foreign concepts, but my social media are in the link tree in the description. Please reach out if you have questions. I can't promise that I can answer every single message, but I'm going to give it my level best. If you're struggling with this and you want some input, if you have questions, if you just want to talk, reach out and I will make an effort to respond. But I want to leave you with hope. There is hope to conquer this with the right tools. But you can't just pray and expect a magic bean to fall out of the heavens. You're going to have to work at it. When Yaakov, when Jacob, who later became known as Israel, when he was with his father-in-law Laban, when he was there with the sheep, he didn't just expect God to give him the speckled and streaked and spotted sheep and goats. Jacob actually went out and he bred the sheep that way. But then later on, when he was telling his wives it was time to leave, he said that his father-in-law kept changing his wages, but Yahweh always provided. Well, hang on. Jacob was the one putting the sticks out. Jacob was the one breeding the sheep to get spotted and speckled and streaked and striped sheep. But then he says that Yahweh is the reason why he got those sheep. Guess what? Jacob could do all the stick stuff and all the breeding he wanted to. There is still such a thing as sperm selection. There's still such a thing as divine intervention. So to Yaakov, to Jacob, it was both. It was Yahweh provided and I worked for it. Yahweh and I co-labored toward this end. Co-labor with Yahweh. If you want to conquer lust, there are tools you can put in your toolbox. It's not a fence, okay, it can get in the way. There are tools in your toolbox you can use to conquer lust with the aid of the Holy Spirit. And again, please reach out if you have questions. My social media are in the description down below. I can't promise to answer everybody, but I will try. And if nothing else, comment under this video. I will probably see the comments if you're commenting shortly after this video goes up. If my channel explodes or something, maybe I can't answer every comment. But for right now, I have a really small channel. I can answer your comments. So if you have questions, concerns, etc., please reach out in the comments or direct message me on social media. I want to help people with this. I hope you found this video thought-provoking and entertaining. I hope it gives you hope. And that's pretty much it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Awe ke u no do ai.